Here's the big story from CNN. Merrick Garland does not rule out charging Trump and others in January 6th probe. And I'm just going to say it. I don't want to bury the lead. I think the story is a big hoax. I think it's a big nothing burger. And how do you say nothing while still riling up Democrats? This is exactly how you do it. You go to someone when there's no criminal investigation and no charges and say, would you charge him if you found a crime? Well, we're not going to rule out anything. There's no, look, let me show you the story from Washington Post. Justice Department investigating Trump's actions in January 6th criminal probe. And we addressed it a little bit last night, but I'm seeing all this news pop up. I got to just say it right now. Let me put it this way. Lauren Sourthern is drinking my very expensive whiskey. Let's say we did not know who was doing it. And so I decide, I know Ian doesn't drink it, but I'm going to investigate what he was doing this night. Not that I'm accusing him of stealing my whiskey, but something he did may lead me to information about what happened to my whiskey. This is how I know, this is why I would say, in my opinion, this story from the Washington Post is total BS. Investigating Trump's actions, you can't criminally charge someone's actions. It may be that they're fishing. It may be there's someone else under criminal investigation, and they're looking at what Trump said to him to see if this person committed a crime. But I'll just tell you right now, if Trump really was under criminal investigation, they would be screaming it to the high heavens.
Right. But can we get down to the bottom of what this is all about? They're terrified of him. The January 6th committee hearings, this ridiculousness, they're terrified of him running again. They do view him as an existential threat to the system, to the administrative state. This is what all of this is about. It has nothing to do with anything because there is no validity to it.
He said he was going to fire everybody.
But how do you actually get Trump to not run again in 2024 and ostracize his political supporters from the body politic? That's what they're trying to do. And I think it's great. He's taking it head on. I mean, he came back to D.C. the other day and spoke in D.C. and people called it controversial. Yeah. I have no idea, why is it controversial that a former president came and spoke in D.C.? Oh, because of January 6th, the show trial, which has nothing to do with anything about the facts that happened on January 6th.
The big story was that he called for the death penalty for drug dealers.
Ooh, Duterte. Very cool.
I have to tell you.
He was like, China doesn't have a drug problem.
I think the January 6th committee hearings have actually helped him on the path to running again for re-election, have actually strengthened him.
I agree. And I'll tell you
why. In a re-election bid.
And I agree with you, and I think it's because the show trial has been so absurd that it's actually weakened their case against Trump. I think the less people knew about it, many of them were probably like, wow, something bad happened. Then you get this show trial, and there's many inconsistencies. And like when
Cassidy Hutchinson.
Oh, I know.
That's all hearsay.
Donald Trump jumped and grabbed some guy's neck. People are probably like, what?
Listen, Megats, you just don't understand. We're going to get him this time.
Yeah, the walls
we're going to get him.
Yeah. 1,000th time. And this time it's going to happen. Sorry to disappoint. It's not happening.
I wonder if there are actually people out there, though, like Democrats that are just sitting there watching The View every day, watching Rachel Maddow, that are like, oh my gosh, every time they get riled up and they're still falling for it. Like,
I think there's 25,
do those people
30%.
exist? They have to be out there.
Yeah, 25, 30%. I think actually believe
embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
It's really embarrassing.
But I think a lot of the normies are looking at this, like you said, Tim, and going, there's no there. You're bringing in Cassidy Hutchinson, all these people. It's hearsay, and then they bring in Pat Cipollone, who basically undermines the Secret Service agents. It's the more more that they're actually advertising and broadcasting, bring in the ABC producer to Showtime. People are going, what are we talking about?
Right.
There's no opposing. They can't get to. There's no cross examination.
Let me pull up this here amazing meme of Chris Pratt. The top one is Chris Pratt with a shocked, happy face saying the first time a Democrat hears the mainstream media say they have information that will totally bring down Trump.
Right.
And then underneath it says the 4,689th time a Democrat hears the MSM say they have information that will totally bring down Trump. And it's the same happy face. No matter how many times they claim it.
Never gets old.
I remember when, it was like March of 2021, and these like deep conspiracy people were like, Trump's going to get reinstated as president. It's coming. And I'm just like, me and every other sane person was like, guys, that's never going to happen.
It's kind of like when people watch the same movie over and over again or listen to the same song, and they like it more as they hear it more. Like the 30th time you hear a song, it's like, oh, now it's even more part of my soul. So like, is that what's happening with the media telling them Trump is bad? Is it like getting more? They actually like it even more the next time they hear it.
I think
they're all hopped up on hopium. There's no coming down.
They're desperate for it to be true. They are absolutely desperate for it.
What would it accomplish
just-
if it were true? What would it accomplish, for instance, positively for the country and for people? What do you think would happen?
Absolutely nothing. I mean, it would only accelerate the rapid separation in parts of our society and culture. If you were to weaponize, this is the other thing too, that I love that Trump's standing up to this. Somebody's actually standing up to the weaponization of the law, which is Trump. Which, if we're not very careful, that's how republics, which technically we still are, end. When you weaponize the law against political opponents. That's exactly what Democrats are trying to do here.
See, that's the
And
problem.
Trump's
They're
standing to it.
weaponizing it against opponents. We just need to weaponize it against all politicians.
I don't disagree at all. I'm an equal opportunist here. There's plenty
If we
on both
put them
sides
all
of the
in
aisle.
jail, I'm okay
If there were
with
real
it.
consequences, like, I don't know, trading stocks with your insider information. Like, let's...
but you're just talking about accountability for
Right, just accountability.
these people who never face it ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never once. At some point, equal application of the law is foundational to our constitutional republic. We have a bifurcated system in which we are now weaponizing the law against political opponents because reasons. And that's what it's because reasons.
This is what the media does. Take a look at this from The Independent. Donald Trump being investigated by DOJ in January 6th criminal probe report says. No, it doesn't say that at all. This is how they launder the information. There's no story. The Washington Post has no story. The story is investigators asked some people about what Trump was doing or something like that. And it's like, okay, does that mean Trump is being investigated criminally? No, it doesn't. Maybe he will be. You know, there's a possibility that they're trying to tread lightly in going after him to not shock the system and cause riots. If they came out and just announced they were doing it, people might get mad. So maybe they're trying to slow roll it. I think the reality is they got nothing. And so they're trying to make it seem like something is happening. And that's why they put the story out.
Yeah, well, they need a story. I was just reading a Daily Beast article the other day that said the Pope has come to apologize for mass graves in Canada. Of course, there's no mass graves, and the Pope didn't come with those intentions. But if you scroll down and you click the hyperlinks in the article that's referencing, it all links to other Daily Beast articles that are completely irrelevant to the article itself. And it's like the way they source this stuff, the way that they write these articles, just desperation for something to latch onto that's, hyper exaggerated for the audience. It's tearing our civilization apart.
Corporate
It's tearing us apart.
Corporate propagandists. I refuse to call them mainstream media on any level. It's corporate propagandists who are not there to actually get to the truth of something, but to amplify the message, the narrative of the system.
Yeah, I think for a lot of these people, it's emergent. Some people believe that at these news organizations, there is a hierarchy of a cabal telling them you must claim Trump did this or that. In reality, it's just people trying to maximize what was acceptable within their sphere to get more clicks. So what happens is the Washington Post publishes a story, exclusive, Trump's actions being investigated. It means nothing. Someone at The Independent is like, ooh, I want to get clicks. Trump's being investigated. Because I've heard people say that to me. They said, Tim, this means Trump is being investigated. I'm like, no, it doesn't. In fact, even Maggie Haberman at the New York Times wrote, this does not mean Trump is under investigation. But they try and do it. This is how these Facebook moms and MSNBC moms and dads get their minds warped. Yeah. So this independent story is going to get laundered again. Yeah. And you're going to get some pundit on MSNBC saying, and now the DOJ is investigating Trump in a criminal probe. I mean, this guy's going down. The walls are closing in. Yeah. They're going to believe it.
And reference The Independent and everything because they all they reference each other's opinion pieces eternally until...
It's an echo chamber to amplify the message. No, it is. But I think you're onto something. Obviously, they feed off each other, but at the same time, they all come from, I call them indoctrination centers of higher learning. They've all come out of the same system. So they all think the same way. They all view the world the same way, and they just end up in different parts, and they amplify each other. But they're all coming from the same cult worldview.
Trilateral. I don't know who's doing this liberal international economy. Is like there's the liberal international economy, the U.S., Britain, Australia, and then there's the Chinese international economy, which is like China, Russia, India. And the thing about it is there's they've mobilized the media, ABC, CNN, to work for the liberal international economy. But I think if Trump was president and was nationalizing industry, that it would actually be very good for the liberal international. I don't understand why. It's like a personal vendetta between him and Hillary Clinton when he's like, you should be in jail. Like he started the whole weaponizing politics. Like he threatened to put her in jail on his campaign against her.
I've talked about it ad nauseum with the Qatar-Turkey pipeline. Donald Trump getting our troops out of the Middle East, him saying, I don't care about these oil pipelines. That was bad for the liberal international economy. They,
They want
need
a
that
new
control.
world. They want a new world economy. They do want a new world order. They've said it many times, and maybe Trump's just not. They think he's not the guy to
Trump doesn't
establish
want
the
that.
new.
Trump doesn't want that.
Well, there's got to be some sort of world order. Otherwise, it's world chaos.
It's the boomer world order, okay? How old is Hillary Clinton? Does anyone know?
She's like
70s.
74 or
Okay.
something.
Do you know what the average age of our politicians or not
70
prime
something?
ministers,
Yeah.
not- presidents in the U.S. was for the past,
Canadians.
like, since the dawn of time? It's usually been around 50. It's only been the last few presidents that have been like 70s, 80s, like getting up there. And it's because the boomers just will not let go.
Yeah.
They won't let go of the industries. They won't let go of the political positions. And then you've got a lot of young people, millennials, Gen X, all these younger generations that see no upward mobility in anywhere in politics, no ability to influence the system. And the boomers will never give it to them. So like, as much as I like Trump as a politician, it's just, it's all of this same generation refusing to let go of civilization, and then every other generation has become apathetic.
I will say though.
Not sure I buy that.
The boomers aren't all bad.
No, of
there
course
are some
not.
bad
Of course
ones,
not.
and they've latched onto power. What I think the problem is that millennials are probably going to be worse. Now I know
True.
I can hear the Gen Xers already screaming, saying you're cutting us out, and I'm like, no, it's because actually Gen Xers I don't think are all that bad. They're not the ones who are squeezing the reins of power and corrupting the system. These are people who are coming in and doing a moderately good job, and millennials are nuts. So when the boomers finally relinquish power and it floods down to Gen X and millennials, those insane millennials are going to just really screw things up.
You gotta. They're setting an example. These Gen whatever they are, the old people in power right now. That to the millennials, if they do get in power, they're going to want to be there for 50 years because like that's what happened before. But they should be in and out. People should be in and out.
Yeah, this was never intended. What we have today, it was never intended to be 40, 50 years in the Senate, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It was meant to be much. I mean, the average term for a congressman, I think, was 2 until turn of the 20th century. I mean, there were a lot of things that have changed dramatically over the last 100 years. You were never meant to be there for as long as they've been.
Yeah.
But no, I a little bit on Lauren. I totally agree. It's time for new leadership. We've got great leadership coming up. Ron DeSantis,
Yes.
Josh Hawley.
Yes.
I'm hoping J.D. Vance, Blake Masters. You're going to see a lot of 30 and 40-somethings who are going to be leaders in the Senate. My perfect world is Trump 2024 and Ron DeSantis, 2028, 2032.
Trump, DeSantis 24. What do you think?
I actually love that idea if they could work it out. I think Trump would have to go have his in New Jersey and DeSantis out of Florida. But yeah, it could be done.
I've heard that, but I read that wasn't true. That
Really?
the president and the vice president, that's a relic of the 1800s. It's
Okay.
not, but
Well,
I could
regardless.
be wrong.
I think it would be
But
a great ticket.
Trump is in New Jersey right now.
Right. I
So
think it'd be
maybe
a
he'll
great
change his
ticket.
residency.
And I think if you had Trump DeSantis, you set him up perfectly for a run in 2020. He'd only be 49, something like that.
Yeah, we need to make room for these new people. There's some really good new young faces coming out.
I totally
and
agree.
they're great.
I want one last run with Trump.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
And I
get
want
in
him to announce before the midterms, by the way. I wrote a piece on that today.
Why do you think he should announce before?
Because I think he's an asset. Everybody wants to say he's not an
Right.
asset. I think he's an asset. He reminds people of what was, not what is.
Oh yeah.
What did we have? We had 1.7 inflation. We had 3.5% unemployment.
$2 gas.
$2 gas. We had a booming economy, domestic energy, net exporter. Had all
Jobs
these
were
great
coming
things.
back. He
Jobs
brought
were
the auto industry back to Michigan.
Manufacturing jobs.
Yeah.
All of these great things. He was taking it to China. He was emphasizing, even though he wasn't as successful on the southern border as he could have been, he was still getting there. He can remind people of what was. Hey, you want this back? Get all these people in, and we can get us back on the course of taking back the country in 2024. I think he announces Tuesday after Labor Day.
You know what? When he talked about building a wall, instead of he phrased it as like we got to keep out, and then the media was like Mexicans. Like you didn't. But what he
racist.
kind of meant was like the cartels and child trafficking. But he didn't emphasize that enough.
But did you see the really funny article today in the LA Times about Mexico City that are deeply resentful of
Yes,
all the Californians and Americans?
Yes.
We don't want them here.
Who
They're
could blame
changing our
them?
culture. We want them to go
No.
home.
Yes.
You didn't see
the
this?
LA
What is it?
Times.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
LA Times.
So good.
I'm like, I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you, Mexico. We'll take back all the Americans. You take back all the
you go.
Mexicans. We're good.
Now you see what it's like.
Yeah. No, it was actually quite hilarious when they admitted we don't like having them here because they're changing our culture.
Huh.
They're changing everything about this city, Mexico City. We don't want them here.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.